Welcome to this talk. Steve keeps saying it's the third of three, but it's not actually. It's the first of a new one because it's about AI stuff. It just happens to be running on the computer I built which I built as I was doing the last two talks. So I originally built that computer because I had a project in mind, but it obviously took too long because somebody else beat me to it. Basically, I decided way back that I wanted a computer that was powerful enough to run a bit of software or help me build a bit of software with an AI that would read a story and find holes in it. And the reason is I'm writing a murder mystery, and I wanted to check that all the logic was right in my story. And so I was planning to try and get an AI that would do that. And just about the time when I finished building my computer, one of the services for story writers that I subscribe to released this gadget which reads your story and tells you where the plot holes are. So,
so phones the FBI if it's too good.
Yeah. Probably. Anyway, so I've been using this computer anyway and learning stuff about AI, and you might have seen the poster out front, and this picture has been generated by an AI. I gave it a prompt, and the prompt was a person having adventures in latent space, and it also had a negative prompt saying disfigured, cartoon, blurry or ugly face. So obviously turn the person round so you can't see her ugly face. But you can see some weird things about this picture if you look very closely. For example, she seems to have 3 fingers on her right hand. You know, it's one of those things. AI stuff is not perfect, and that's one of the things I've been learning quite rapidly. But anyway, so just to give you some idea about why I decided I was interested in AI. I've been working in IT for a long time, and I've been taking photographs for a long time. I started taking photographs when I was a child in 1964, and I started learning how to write computer programs when I was still a child at school. So I've been writing computer programs since 1969. I did my first AI project in 1994 when I was working for a company in Maidenhead, and we were marketing a bit of software which would read a huge file of data and use it. It would use it for creating a program. It would actually write a computer program that would process the data or mimic what the data was doing. And the customer that I worked with for that was one of the banks. And basically we fed all their credit card information into this program, and it wrote a program that would tell whether somebody who was applying for a credit card would be likely to pay the bills or not. And they were using that, by the time we finished, they were using that to decide whether you got a credit card or not. And that was quite a long time ago, 1994. I got involved with using Photoshop after that to do my photography, and then I started doing digital photography in about 2007 when the cameras got good enough to use. And then a little while back, I must have been getting bored or something, because I did a course with Stanford University. It was an online course where they talked about machine learning, which is really what we're talking about here. Everyone's calling it artificial intelligence, but it's probably better described as machine learning, because what's happening is we're giving a computer a lot of information, and it's using it to write a program or to learn how to do something. So it's not really intelligent, because it only works on what we give it, and it's biased by what we give it as well. Yes. And so it's not making any decisions itself. It's just entirely driven by what's been given to it in its learning data set. I've also did a couple of other courses which have been useful. One was computational photography, which was run by Georgia Institute of Technology. That's basically, they were telling us about how some of those internal bits of Photoshop work. And a lot of that stuff that is basically huge matrix arithmetic. So I don't know if anyone's done any matrix arithmetic, but a lot of these things work on matrix arithmetic. And the stuff that computational photography does exactly the same. It's working with pictures that are described by mathematical matrices, and then we're doing a matrix operation on the picture, and it's working as a result. So I did those two courses, computational photography and interactive programming in Python. A lot of the AI stuff is written in Python, so it has been some help to me to know a little bit about Python programming language. So this is what I'm going to, this is sort of the agenda. I'm going to talk a bit about an introduction to AI, demystifying running it on your home PC, what resources you need and how do you get started. Then I'm going to do basically a couple of demos, one of a large language model and another one of a thing called stable diffusion, which takes some text you write and converts it into a picture. And then we'll have some questions and answers. I'm not guaranteeing I can answer all your questions. I'll do my best. So what we're talking about, as I said, is this thing that people are calling AI. It's basically being used to describe a program which learns from the data we provide it. And there are multiple ways it can learn. Two main ones are what's called supervised learning and unsupervised learning. So supervised learning would be where we give it some data and then we tell it the right decision to make based on the data that we've given it. Unsupervised learning might be that we give it the Library of Congress to read and it reads all these books and then it does something with it. But what it decides based on those books is a bit more random.
You could get it to summarise, couldn't you?
You could, yeah.
Summarise all the...
Summarise the library.
But that's the next stage. I'm talking about the learning process.
One A4 sheet.
I'm talking about the learning process to start with. The fact that it's going to learn something. So some examples of what these things are being used for. As I said, credit card application, the project I worked on. I did work on another project after I did my course at or the Stanford University course. At that time I was working for a company that ran dating websites based in Windsor, and we used some of the stuff I learned on that course to identify scammers, because we were having trouble with people signing up as to date people and then pretending to be a man or a woman. We don't know whether they were men or women, can't tell, but they were definitely pretending to be interested in having a date, and they would just eventually try and scam money out of people. And that worked pretty well. We caught a few scammers, and I'm going to show you some examples later on, large language model and an image generation model. So how would you go about running this at home? Well, it's ideal if you've got a PC with what's called a GPU or graphics processing unit, and nowadays you can, if you've got one that's got more than 4 gigabytes of video RAM, then you could fairly easily find a suitable model to run on your home computer. Mostly these things run on the GPU, on the graphics processor, because the graphics processor has been designed to do these big matrix arithmetic things, because that's the way the photography thing works, and it's been designed to do them quickly. So that's why it's a good way to run the AI software. So the other thing you could do is you can run it on a PC with a fast processor and more than 16 gigabytes of RAM, but it would be much slower. So it's better if you can run it on the GPU because it will be much faster. But amazingly, you can run some things on a Raspberry Pi. I don't know, a few years ago, myself and another member whose name was also Kevin, we were playing around with Raspberry Pi things and created some stuff where it was using a bit of software called OpenCV, which was allow you to create a video, and it could be watching a video or watching pictures you gave the bit of software, and it would then simply identify the things in the picture. So it would put a box around various different things and say, this is a person, this is a car, this is whatever, a dog, things that it was designed to identify. So I'm planning to have a go at running some stuff on Raspberry Pis in the near future. So what might you want to use? I've got a list of resources here which you could use, and I'll be doing a demo using a thing called LM Studio of a large language model. So you might have heard of one of the most famous ones is GPT-3, which is a large language model that has been made famous over the last couple of years. It basically, you can have a chat to it. It's designed to talk to you, and they can have a conversation with it. There's an image generator called Stable Diffusion, and that can run with a bit of software called Automatic 1111. And to do that, you'd need to go through a complex process if you want to run it at home, installing Python, installing a thing called Git, then cloning the software, which brings it down to your machine, and then starting it up. And I'll do the last two bits. I've done all the first bits. Or there's another bit of software called Comfy UI, which I'm getting interested in and trying to play with. It's a bit more interesting from the point of view of being a learning experience, because you get to see the inner workings of what's going on, and you can download the models that's using and the ones that are used by Automatic 1111 from a website called Civit AI. So that's all there, just so that we've got the resources all in one space. So let's do a bit of a demo. So actually, I might just have to stop PowerPoint to stop it doing that. Yeah. So as I said, I've got this stuff running on my machine at home, and my machine at home is connected here by what's called a VPN. So here's my machine at home. I didn't bother to bring it this time because you've seen it all before. It takes up a lot of space because it's in a huge box. But there's a bit of software there called Comfy UI which is running. I'm just going to stop that because I don't want to talk about that to begin with. So I'm going to hopefully get it to stop. It's sometimes a bit slow at getting to stop. I don't know quite why.
Because it's taking over.
Stops. Yeah, okay. Yes, I'm stopping it. I think you have to push Control-C twice. Anyway, so first thing I'm going to do is do a quick demo of a large language model. And to do that, I've got this thing called LM Studio. Now, LM Studio makes running a large language model quite easy. When I first started trying to do it, there was a huge number of steps you had to go through to run this thing. But now it's very simple. I just start this thing, and it pops up, and you say, it asks you what model you want to run. I've chosen this thing called Mixtral, which is pretty good. It's almost as good as ChatGPT, GPT-3. So we can start that up, and there's various different versions of things which you can choose which model you're going to run here. Let's choose that one. And the main problem I'm finding with a lot of this stuff is that when you run it, when you run these bits of software, they change quite often. And I think somebody asked me a bit earlier, is this completely up to date? It is, but I might not be. I made the mistake of having built the presentation on Monday last week. I then went and updated the software, and it was a mistake because everything's changed. It's changing quite rapidly. A lot of this stuff is changing very rapidly. So what this bit of software does is it lets you install and run one of these things. It's just trying to persuade me to download a new version, I think. I don't think I want to do that though. I can't see what. Maybe I do have to do it again because it might not open more. No, that's not it. Oh, here we go. Sorry, they moved they moved the links, so they're off the edge of the screen here. That's what I was looking at over here, and I can see them here. Okay, so here we've got our access to this model, and so we can ask it a question. Who'd like to come up with a question? Anyone got any ideas?
An answer to a question, or
something you want to know that we could ask this AI to see if it knows. Now it's read a lot of books.
Where did Kevin go on holiday today?
What's that?
Where did Kevin go on holiday? So that's a random question.
It probably won't know that, but it hopefully will tell you.
You want to bet?
Okay. It's I need to select a model.
Does this have access to the internet as well, or does it just?
No, it doesn't.
Just chatting. No.
Yes, it'll be a local.
It will make it up as it goes along.
So it will first load it, which means it's copying it from the disk in my machine into the GPU, and that takes a little while, but once you've done it, it should be all right.
So you can tell it to use the GPU.
Yes, I have told it to use the GPU. So let's see if it can answer my question. There you go. Apparently there was a Kevin that went. That would have been a long time ago.
How about write a poem about a man called Kevin who likes photography and goes to Basingstoke Makerspace.
Okay.
Make it 5 paragraphs.
Right. A poem. I have to be able to spell about.
It's got to be haiku format as well.
I use ChatGTP to do poems and limericks and things for family members for birthday cards and things. So I used to do it all by hand. It used to take me ages, and now what I do, I just feed in all the relevant information about them, describe the situation, and just keep them filling it, full of detailed information, and it will produce a relatively pretty good poem. And you can just cut and paste it, change it, make it a little bit more relevant in some cases, but you've got a great,
They were saying that a lot of kids cheat. So
Yeah.
the teacher puts some fake stuff in the middle, makes it white, shrinks it right down, they copy
Include
and paste
Frankenstein
it.
and things like that.
yeah. It's a great way
At the
to.
workshop, they know it's a workshop.
Here we go. Do you want to read it out so that everybody can?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says, there once was a man named Kevin who lived in Basingstoke and went to Makerspace. He loved creating things with his hands. He always had new ideas up his sleeves. Kevin spent hours at the workshop, tinkering away on projects big and small. He built robots from scratch and repaired old appliances for all. His friends admired him greatly, for his skills were second to none. They knew that Kevin was always ready to help them with any job they had begun. So if you ever need a hand or advice, just head on over to Makerspace and find Kevin. He'll be waiting there, tinkering away, creating something each new day.
He's worth saving.
He's a poet and he didn't know it.
That's not bad.
No, it isn't bad.
So,
Bad at all.
Remember
Yeah.
watching The Prisoner, where they come across his awesome computer, and he managed to break it in 3 letters by putting Y.
Yeah.
Why?
It went to an eternal
just
loop.
ask it why.
Yeah.
shall we try that? Why?
What is the answer to the life of the universe and everything? And if he comes up with 42,
Yeah.
Gosh, why not?
So,
You could also ask it other questions, sort of like, give me a report on all the police stations in the UK and list of whatever, and it will obviously have old data, it won't be current data, but it depends. Your language model you've got will be restricted, won't it, Kevin, on that one? It won't have some of that geographic data, probably.
I don't know. I
Not-
don't know
if
what
it's
it's got. I've not tried asking it.
Data for?
Well,
You said it's not connected to the internet.
because if you take something like GPT-4,
It will have read the internet from about 10 years ago, or 5 years ago, or 3 years ago.
Normally a couple of 2022, I think, or 21 for Chat GTP 3.
Because they can go through, sanitise it, and get all the weird
Yeah,
stuff.
whereas 4 is internet ready.
So let's ask it where the police station in Basingstoke is.
Yeah, see if it knows.
London Street, you see, it's out of date.
it's wrong. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a block of flats there or something.
Yeah. But if you've got a live version like GTP4, then you will have live access. You could give it a website address and say, summarise the products of this company, blah de blah.
What is the volume of the planet Earth?
Let's find out.
But in order to do the English, it has to have a corpus of a few million words. So it has to have got a few million words worth of documents from somewhere.
One of the things, if you say Chat GPT in French, as in Chat GPT, it translates to cat. I farted.
So this model is called Mixtral. It's actually been put together by as an open source model, so anyone can download it, and you can even train it on your own data. So you could, if you wanted, if you were a company, you could perhaps retrain it to learn about your particular company, and it would do.
But given that it needs a few million words of data, you need a big enough company to have a few million words.
It doesn't need it. You can train it in very specific things. So some people are using, like, giving it a PDF, like legal document, and saying,
Like
asking questions about it.
Yeah, yeah,
I
and
started citing cases that didn't exist.
Yeah. It can be.
Is that
Imagine it can be. It's definitely got a good imagination.
And that's right. So for legal stuff, there's specific legal AI engines which will obviously be attuned to a legal thing. Same with accountants and things like that. So
Start
you have
citing Columbo.
yeah, but you have all these. These are all different flavors of AI technologies which will be attuned to a particular thing, and equally, what I tend to use them for is if I want to know about competitive technologies from a particular company, I'll say, tell me about, say IBM's certain technologies and who are their main competitors, and list them, give me some URLs, some links to those products, competitive products, and lists to analyst reports and things like that, and really useful. And it can save me.
Add references and say.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, and get links and stuff.
Apparently Google's going to start including them as part of their normal results.
Yeah, that'd be.
DuckDuckGo is a bit on top, a summariser.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I prefer to check the actual link.
Well, they got Genesis, which is I've started to have a look at that on Google.
So something obviously changed here as well, because I've just tried to launch the Automatic 1111, which was working perfectly well the other day, yesterday in fact, and it can't find Python now.
Now what Kevin's doing, he's gone hardcore and he's running it all in his own machine. But by running it on Google's infrastructure or
then Google knows
Microsoft's-
everything you're asking it. So
Yeah, well that's true. That's true.
and the part of the thing with running stuff yourself or on Google or wherever you are running it, if you ask some of these services a question, they might very well tell you they don't want to give you the answer.
Yes, that's true.
And if you remember way back when I gave a talk before about Photoshop and its AI service, I had some pictures when I was trying out Photoshop where maybe the person in the picture had quite a lot of flesh on show, and then it would refuse to deal with it, and that's because it was somehow misunderstanding what the picture was about.
I bet that's ruined all your photos, hasn't it?
It means I don't use Photoshop. But no, there was an example I took of a model called Ilvi, and she was wearing a dress which had no shoulder. You know, it was a shoulderless dress,
Armless.
and she happened to be showing a bit of leg as well in the picture, and it just refused to process it, saying didn't meet Adobe's community requirements.
Failed the smut filter.
Yeah. So having your own thing, it works better to have your own thing. I mean, you do sometimes get things you don't want out of it. Well, I'm sorry. It looks like I can't run automatic 1111. It doesn't seem to like.
Kevin, can we ask it, not now, but could we ask it to take up all of our policies and procedures so that we can inquire?
You could.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Just crossed my mind.
Yeah. No, you
Yeah,
could.
it's part of a document management solution. You could, and you could have some preset interrogation things in there to rapidly search for everything and report it. And,
Pull up pictures as well.
Let me try this other thing, Comfy UI instead, because I think that might be. So I was going to show you automatic 1111. That is a very simple interface to a text to image model, and there are quite a lot of websites, as Andy says, that you can go to and just ask it for a picture, and it will make a picture like the one I used for the start of the talk. You know, basically I gave it what's called a prompt, and it would do that. Now the problem with that is you don't know how it's done it, or at least my problem with it is I don't know how it's done it, and I wanted to know more about what was going on inside the things. So I installed this other alternative way of doing things called Comfy UI, and what Comfy UI does is it breaks the process down into a number of steps. So for example, here you can see we've got the guy who wrote Comfy UI basically wanted a more controllable interface to the software. So it's using the same software as Automatic 1111, and it's using the same software as a lot of these websites that generate pictures, but it basically allows you to create a flowchart and put various things, connect various bits of the thing together, and then generate a photograph. So here, this is a very simple recreation of what I was going to demonstrate in Automatic 1111. So what you've got here is a step which takes the model, loads that into the GPU memory. So it's called load checkpoint, because the model's called a checkpoint because it's been trained up to a point where it's stopped training, and that's known as a checkpoint. It's then got a clip text encode. So at this point I've written a piece of text to describe the picture I want, and I've said a fashion model in a large room. That's just, I mean, you could put anything you like in, a picture of a panda eating leaves or something, whatever you wanted. And this also got what's called a negative prompt, which is things I don't want to see in the picture. So I've listed text and a watermark. I don't want text or a watermark. And the reason for putting that is a lot of these things were trained on pictures that were just found off the internet, and a lot of them had watermarks to stop people stealing them. So it thinks watermarks are quite normal on pictures, so it's a good idea to tell it not to put
just
one
to
in.
add what Kevin's saying there, when he says they've seen images on the internet, we're not just dragging an image down they found like Google would do. It's actually looking at the image and it recreates that in its own with its own logic and
from lots of different places.
yeah, and so that's why you can actually give it a prompt which it will create an image that's never existed ever.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you remember, I called this talk a sort of subtitle of Adventures in Latent Space, and basically what happens, what latent space is something that could contain an image, and the way they train this model is that they feed it with lots of images, and then they add noise to it until they become just a noisy thing that you don't understand, and then they reverse the process so that the model learns how to reverse, taking the noise and converting it back into a picture, and that's done in this step called the K sampler. And in the K sampler we can tell it what model we're using, so the model goes in, it gets processed in here. We've got the positive and negative prompts. We've got a noisy image, and it's just a picture of noise. We could, in fact, what I might do here is add a new step here just so you can see what it looks like, and you do that by dragging one of these things over, and you can add various different things. I'm going to add a node. I'm going to add an image preview mode, so in here somewhere I can say preview image. Oh, it's added it, but it's not joined it up. Let's do it, have another go. So I know why it's not joining it up, because it's a latent image, and the latent image is actually stored in a different format. It's stored as a matrix. So in order to make it be able to convert a latent image into something we can preview, we need to do a step in between to decode it. So I should be able to, hang on, let me try again. Add node, let's say.
So this is like an image
Latent.
file format conversion type of thing, is it?
Yeah. Empty. Oh, no, I don't know if I've got a step that will do the job in one thing. I think I'm going to leave that out. But basically, if you looked at that image, you would just find it's just completely it's generated a piece of noise. I'm going to get rid of that. I'll come back to that. Anyway, what we do is we feed the latent image and the model, and the model has built within it this thing called a VAE, or a virtual or I forgot what the A stands for, something encoder. Basically it basically this is the set of rules that will convert the thing into the picture.
It's not anamorphic, is it? Virtual anamorphic.
No, I've got it written down somewhere. I'll come back to it in a minute. So, and then of course we've generated an image and we can preview it. So let's just make that thing bigger. The alternative would be you could save it. I generally don't save my images because they're mostly rubbish. So so let's see what it does when we cue the prompt. Oh, the other thing I should say about the K sampler is it's got lots of things in here which control how it works. There's a thing, the number of steps it's going to go through to generate the image, a thing called the CFG, which is how random it is going to generate images, or how hard it's trying to do things. It's got different samplers that you can use. I'm going to choose a sampler here. Let's use this one. It's got a scheduler. I'm going to choose Keras. It's got how much denoising you want to do, and that's more interest. I'm just going to set it to 100% or 1, and it's got whether it's going to do a preview, and is it going to do an inline decode or not, or tile it. So anyway, let's get it going. So if I hit Q prompt, it will then start. The green box shows you which bit it's doing at the time, and you see it's generated the picture, and now we're previewing it. Now there's an obvious problem if you look at this picture, is that it's got the vague idea of a model in a large room, but if you zoom in on this picture, or make the picture bigger so you can see it, you find that it's learnt about pictures of models in large rooms, or pictures of models and large rooms, pictures of large rooms, but it hasn't really understood the whole detail of the face type, and the face here is really bad. It doesn't really look like a face, it looks just rubbish. So
you didn't get a large model in a room.
Well, if you change the prompt,
Should have had a bigger face.
but it's all based on what the thing's learned, and it's learned that models tend to look a bit like this, and that rooms look a bit like this, and so it's put the two together, and it's made something. Now, if I said a portrait of a model, it will then go to its thoughts about what it's learnt about pictures of portraits, pictures that have been called portraits. And so if I change that and then hit Q prompt, it will generate a different picture, and that different picture will be based on portraits. Now, portraits, people tend to have much better faces, so it's generated a picture here with a good face. This is interesting, but what we really want is to be able to generate a picture of a model in a large room with a good face. And if you're using automatic 1111, you have no control over it, because you can only change the prompt. And as you can see from my thing, I can move things around and change things around. So what you can do with this tool, Comfy UI, is you can build multiple steps in your process. So you can generate a picture of a model in a large room, expand the picture, find the face, then go and replace the face with a good face, or do more steps in the process to create a better face, and then you get a much more realistic picture.
You could also maybe just say a picture of a model in a large room, and then make the model's face look like a particular somebody well known or whatever,
A celebrity.
yeah, a celeb. And I've done them before where it said create a photorealistic image of Boris Johnson wearing a onesie, holding a Union Jack, blah blah blah, and you will get
standard weekend, isn't it?
yeah. And but you can get some amazingly accurate imagery out of these things.
I've just changed this prompt to a picture of Boris Johnson wearing a onesie.
Yeah.
There you go.
So let's see what happens when we hit cue the prompt and see what.
There we go.
Oh my life.
My mother-in-law asked me to generate an image of Sean Connery naked on a horse, and It actually did, but he was wearing underwear, so there's obviously a filter on there. So.
Well, what I should say about this software that I'm running, there's no filter, so I'm not going to ask for any naked pictures.
The only filter is your imagination.
I'm
So,
going to test for it. Have a test for it. As you know, the word booby trap comes from a type of seabird that was really easy to trap.
Yeah.
So if you put booby bird on trawler and see what it comes up with.
Booby bird on trawler. I'd like to apologise in advance if I promote the wrong thing.
I have no idea what's going to happen.
and
That's
if
what I'm
it,
interested
if
about.
it comes out slightly adult, what we'll do, we'll just fuzz it out on the screen.
Yeah,
when
that's
it
what
comes
it
out.
It is going to be slightly
Fuzz it
adult.
out.
That's not what I asked for.
So it must
But we're
be-
happy.
It must
Yeah.
be slang for bird, meaning a.
Yeah.
And it
He
basically,
found that.
remember what it's been trained on. It's been trained on
Yeah.
pictures on the internet. And if there's no pictures of booby birds, it's going to use pictures of boobies and pictures of birds. And it's just put them together in the wrong way. There's
there
a
are
couple
some
of
seagulls.
a couple of seagulls in the background, but they may not be what you
Not a
want.
picture, that's my Christmas card.
Yeah. It's like a Kiss Me Quick postcard,
Yeah.
isn't it? But you could get some very creative output as well.
Just,
I'm-
if you run it
So-
again,
so
with the
hang
same
on.
picture turn up.
Hang on. If you change, say, blue-footed booby bird. on
Can we run the
trawler,
same one again just to see if it generates a different image?
Well,
Will it do the same thing every time? Is it random at all?
it is random. It depends how you've set it up.
Now the randomness
So
is that not
here,
creativity level?
here I can set whether to randomise or not, and by setting the seed to -1, I've set it to random. But here I just set the seed number to a fixed number of 2 now instead.
Yeah.
And then if we rerun the prompt, the same prompt, it will generate a slightly different picture.
Yeah, there we go. We get now. This is a bird.
Yeah.
Now try blue-footed booby bird on trawler.
Is that a booby
does
bird?
the randomness,
No, that's
so
a seagull
does
or
the
a
number
puffin.
determine how different the random pictures are?
Yeah.
Well,
So
also,
two mean it's slightly different, but a higher number would be.
yeah, and I think the randomness could also mean how creative an image it will do. So, for example, I could feed in a photograph
There you
of
are.
somebody,
that
and
is
then
not-
oh, that's good. I could feed in a photograph of somebody and says, take this image and
It's blue.
change the
But it's not
background
blue.
and
It's getting
add
there, it's
something,
getting
give the guy a red tie or whatever, and you could do something like that. Now, there's something called persistent image. Is it persistent images or persistent
I don't think
characters?
it's
Yeah,
Persistent
persistent
characters.
characters,
They
yeah.
certainly-
Where you can have the same character in different positions and different poses, and they're the same as well, which is really.
So the other thing that you'll notice here is that it's got some blue in the picture. The bird's got a blue beak, but it hasn't got blue feet like we asked.
Oh yeah.
And it quite often gets confused when you ask it for things to be a particular colour. It doesn't understand the connection between the words in the sentence very well. So
Can you
it-
control that by quoting around?
Yeah, or
you can
parenthesis or
by
whatever,
messing
like
around
before.
with the sequence of words and by using better words. It probably doesn't know the word footed. So if I said
with feet. Yeah,
blue feet,
yeah,
it might very well.
yeah. You're right. Footed it's probably a strange word
You
to
can name of the bird.
process.
Probably doesn't know the bird, and it's just coming up with.
No, it's just coming at random birds.
So here now,
That's
this
right,
new
that's
bird's got blue feet.
It looks even less like a booby.
So yeah,
But it was probably never programmed with pictures of boobies.
no.
Just,
The
Well,
boobies
not
that it's been programmed with are obviously a different sort of booby, I'm afraid.
Still
But
prefer the first
so
photo.
anyway,
that's probably it being programmed by.
yeah, we'll never get that back again. You know
Yeah.
that.
You'll never unsee it either.
Oh, yes, we will, because you know what the random seed was.
No, I don't. Oh, it'll be on the video.
But that's the seed. But knowing the seed, it doesn't guarantee the same image.
Yeah, it does.
Does it? How?
Yeah, if you change the seed back to the way it is and leave the prompt exactly the same, it will give you the same.
But the
image.
seeds are the random seed, isn't
No,
it?
I just set it to a fixed value.
That's
So
not
you
right,
can
it's
set it
having
to a fixed value.
seed.
Yeah.
Is
Right,
because
okay.
if you want to test out how things work,
Yeah.
you can keep the seed the same, change the prompt
Yeah.
by one
Oh,
word.
so maybe that's how you can get the persistent characters
Yeah.
by using the
So-
same seed. as
So
the-
what we've got here now is the seed is just set to 2, but this is quite good because
What does seed mean?
it basically it's the amount it's just something that starts the randomness in the picture. Yeah. So if I want to try to see what difference changing the CFG is, for example, I've got this value CFG. If we increase it, it should give you more. It gives the thing more imagination, as it were. So let's test its imagination by increasing CFG, and you can see that the picture looks vaguely similar,
Yes.
but it's different.
Could you add photorealistic as well, so we can see if it will actually change it? Because that's when I use Midjourney, photorealistic and ultra photorealistic is a good one, and it should give dramatic lighting and stuff like that. Let's see what it looks like.
Gee, God, this. That bird.
I wouldn't say it's that photorealistic, but
detail now.
it's huge though. It's not very realistic at all.
Yeah.
So,
It could be a model boat.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
but you could say also add lens flares or whatever, any kind of sort of additional.
Well, yeah.
features.
I mean that's because that model you're talking about has been trained with those things. This
Yes.
might not have been. So,
yes, exactly.
So if I put lens flare in, we'll see if it knows about lens flare.
Oh yeah, there's a little bit there.
So
See,
it's
that's
put lens flare in,
yeah,
but the bird seems to have lost a foot and
it turned into some alien
And it's-
bird.
yeah,
And it's flying-ish
without its wings.
wings.
Yeah.
It's levitating.
So anyway, it's quite amusing to play with, but I've wasted hours. I should say. Can you say? But the other thing I've been trying to do is move around these things. So I'm just going to try a little thing called an image-to-image workflow. And so you can load different workflows, and here's a more complicated workflow. And I wanted to see what effect it would have on my image by getting it to take an image in rather than just a prompt. So I've got an image and a prompt here, and so we've got this photo that I took of Jocelyn recently, and I've basically thought it would be interesting to see if I can make her look a bit younger, because she's in her 40s now, so she's getting a bit paranoid about being the old. She does a YouTube channel called How to Be a Very, Very, Very Old Model, and so I think she's a bit paranoid about it. So I thought I'd try and see if I could make her look younger.
Make her feel worse.
So I put the prompt in here: photo of a beautiful 20-year-old looking shocked, because she was looking shocked in this picture. So I decided to see if I could make a version of this picture with her looking shocked.
So that's the sort of scene.
That's like the scene.
Yeah.
And here, basically, you can change the noise and the number of steps.
You keep talking about noise. What are you talking about?
Like static
It's
on a
like
picture.
static you used to get on your TV when it wasn't tuned in properly.
So,
So-
is this almost like sharpness then, is it? Or
No, it's a randomness.
It's a random thing. Yeah.
In order to make that image, it's got to have some randomness added to it, so you can then work on the randomness.
well, in my experience, the randomness is the creativity that he uses. So it makes it a bit more fanciful, a bit more
Yeah, that's
fantasy versus reality. So if I feed an image into it,
yeah.
and I reduce, say I have 95% accuracy and only 5% creativity, then it will be similar, because I can cartoonize an image or something, and make it like cartoon character.
So what happens when you run that one?
Yeah.
When I run this, well,
Blimey.
we'll find out. I'll hit the button and we'll cue the prompt.
But if you were doing, like, say, a cartoon series and you wanted to generate the images for this on with AI, could you get consistency with
Yeah, that's the
imaging
persistent character thing. There's a process around it. I
Yes.
can't remember what that is,
Yeah,
but
the whole,
oh, there we go. Look,
doesn't look like her though.
It doesn't look much like her at all, actually, does
ah,
it?
she's blonde and female. That's good. Yeah.
But there you go. See, so if I reduce the number of steps, it will look a bit more like her. But
And can you make her smile as well?
I could make her smile, yeah. But instead of
She's
saying
meant to be
looking
shocked.
shocked,
Do you smile when you're shocked?
Depends what I'm looking at.
Gives us the happy
Make it
surprise.
smiling.
And winking at me.
so even though she was shocked in that
There we
picture,
go. Look.
now she's smiling.
Look at that.
Does she look more like her now?
Not really.
No.
She's kept the hands.
Yeah, I mean it's got certain things in the right place, but you know,
She's got the right number of fingers, so that's a good start.
yeah.
But like she hasn't changed her hand position. She just changed the expression
Could
on
she-
her face.
Could she have a beard? Can we see her with a beard?
Yeah, you probably could.
Just
Go on.
to prove to the naysayers that this is actually computer generated
I
as well.
dare to send the bearded picture to Justin.
Right.
Well, if you didn't believe those birds on trawlers were,
Well, you know, some
computer
people
generated.
could be disbelievers, you see.
What
Kevin,
do you
so-
think? If I'd set you up in advance to ask for birds on trawlers,
Oh, hold on. What's
Well,
going
that
on
Hasn't
there?
got a beard.
She's got
With background.
Beard into the background.
yeah, I think it has.
beard on chin. So you can,
Where's the beard?
but the
Put it in
beard's
the
sort of,
background.
it's sort of made the
on
back,
her.
the rear texture into some sort of weird. Looks like a 1970s.
I doubt
wooden,
it's been trained with
panel
many
wall.
pictures of women with beards.
Just like my parents had.
You don't like
I
that?
just
mine
stopped
did.
her smiling.
Yeah,
Okay.
it stopped
It's
us.
smiling.
It's obviously got.
I took the smile out
Oh,
then, but I could change this to a man instead.
Okay, yeah, just a man. We are inclusive. Right.
So let's see what it does now.
Wearing those clothes. Yeah, there we go.
It's quite cute.
Look at the arms.
Hairy arms.
Yeah.
His hand looks a bit.
Yeah,
He's
she's
got
got
three fingers.
actually.
Oh,
He's only got
three fingers again.
That's
yeah,
like me at the weekend.
it's gone wrong now.
It's
Yeah,
only got 4 fingers.
yeah. So
That's the biggest problem.
yes. So this causes great amusement at my house, but there you go. So you just to talk about what's going on here, though. Basically, broken this down into some more modules. So you've got a text encoder, clip text encoder, and it's using a more complicated model so it can make bigger pictures. I've got a whole stack of models here. That's why it took a little bit longer the first time, because it had to load a new model. So it's using what's called SDXL Lightning model. But you've got all these other models. Some of these others are supposed to be a bit better. There's one here called Realistic Vision. But because of the way this thing works, I have to know that I actually need to use an SDXL model with this particular arrangement of things. Otherwise it doesn't work. So here's a different model which has been trained on different pictures. We'll try it with exactly the same prompt and see what happens. At the moment the green box is around the load checkpoint, so it's loading the new model, and then it starts to go through the various other things, and
That's not a man with a beard.
it doesn't. It's got a bit of a beard, and it looks a bit more male than female this time.
Doesn't
But yeah,
Huge eyes.
He's got very skinny top arms,
yeah.
upper
Got 5
arms, and
fingers
very
again.
quite.
It's following. This model is following the prompt I've given it with a picture,
Yeah.
a bit more.
It's using the picture more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it then. Any questions?
When you load this on your system, how large are the models? How much space does it take?
I think the easiest way to describe it, some models are, most of the models I've been using are around about 7 or 8 gigabytes, yeah.
Right.
So each model is
Yeah.
will require about 7 or 8 gigs.
Yeah.
But they require quite a bit of processing because it's using the computer that he showed us
Yeah.
last time, and it's taking a minute to do the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just generating it. It's
Well,
not,
yeah.
it's not creating the model.
Way back, if you remember, when I first loaded the software, I was using Automatic 1111, which actually seems to work slightly quicker with the older models, and I was generating, basically about 2 or 3 cats per minute, because you can get Automatic 1111 to just keep generating things, so it doesn't stop at the end of each generation, like the Comfy UI thing does. And I was chatting online on a Zoom call with some guys from Stable Diffusion who wrote the model, and one of the other guys on the Zoom call asked how many cats, or it said, how fast is your computer that you're using in the office? And they said, oh, it generates 100 cats per second. So when my 2 or 3 cats per minute was, I thought that was fast. It wasn't. And I was a bit shocked that their standard was cats per second, because I thought I'd invented that idea.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
There we go.